Hey, Chef.
Hello there. Happy Monday.
Yeah, I met one of your Food One students today when I was picking up my supplies. Janine,
Okay.
I met her today.
She was picking up her supplies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a big class.
It is? Oh, wow.
20.
Whoa.
Yep.
It is a big class.
Yep. Kathy, are you registered for next semester? Did you get into classes or are you still contemplating?
Yeah, actually, I'm probably going to skip this next semester.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm hoping to be back fall of 2022.
We have to do what we have to do, life and the world and everything. I'm contemplating what next semester, what the rest of this semester look like in my doctoral program. I may have to drop a class that actually starts today and then pick it up again. So I understand. I understand. San, you got all you're situated.
I'm ready. Yeah.
We can talk more later. Were you able to meet with Renee?
Yeah, she called me on a conference call.
Okay.
Yeah, I got on a conference call with her and Chef Bess.
And you're all straight?
Yeah, for next semester. Uh-huh.
Good. Very good. Awesome.
Yeah.
She's the decision maker, she's the
Yeah.
the tallest hog in the trough. So
Yeah.
Christy just joined us. Good. I've got 5:30. So let's hit this. I actually want to spend a little bit more time after last week, kind of playing with different kinds of just different plating ideas. I haven't had time to put anything together for this evening in that same regard. But I want us to spend a little bit more time talking about your plates from this past week. Most of you may have already seen, it was earlier today that I did the grading from the weekend from this past week and left several comments. My feedback, the comments are, going to be the same tone because that's just me. They'll be the same tone as always, but you might see the grading get, within a couple of points, you might see grading get a little more. I'm not just going to give away all the points, full credit, A+ kind of grade. I won't just be giving that away. Now this last half of the semester, that shouldn't mean nobody should freak out or worry about anything. In fact, I'm a little bit generous with you people. Maybe I kind of like you a little bit. I don't know, but y'all just keep doing what you're doing, and academically grades are going to be just fine, just fine. Pay more attention to those comments and feedback. And if I give comments, I'm pretty terrible about proofreading. So I use Grammarly. If you're familiar with that little piece of software, it's very annoying, but I need it for my dissertation right now. So for another year, I'll be kind of tied to Grammarly. And it does kind of spell check and grammar check a few things, but sometimes I get in a hurry and I just hit enter real quick. And if something doesn't make sense, I don't need to say it to this group, but I say it anyway. Y'all reach out to me and Chef, what did you mean by this comment? Or could you give me a little more detail or blah, blah, blah. I'm happy to make sure that everything makes sense. So that's all I have to say about that. We're going to look at more plates. I think I pulled up 4 or 5 plates from this week instead of our usual 3, because I only want to show you really one thing to get you a really good jump start on this week's lab. But give me a second to share this screen. And we just go to this. Okay, you should, do you see it now? Just says peer review right in front of you. Okay,
Yes.
usual stuff, success, suggestions. Success, suggestions. Whoops. Technology is wonderful when it works. Okay, plate number 1. Remember, there was some potatoes. I think there was some spinach. You had halibut. You had shrimp. We were poaching. And
Well, I can tell the sauce that was poured over the fish made it look like the fish was kind of wet, but it actually was the sauce.
the sauce.
Yeah. And then maybe the juliennes could have been more straighter, maybe more uniform. I don't know. But I like the colors.
On a positive note, I like the simplicity,
I like the colors.
cleanness.
Yeah, and it's clean.
Yeah.
Did
And
I
it's like
tell?
offset,
So Kathy, do you like that? Or
yeah. I mean, it provides for an interesting negative space.
how do y'all feel about the sauce poured over the top? The sauce poured over the fish.
I think it should be under it.
Anybody
I
else?
can see that. I can see that it being under instead of over it. I can see where that would, yeah. Will make a difference.
Rule that I've from a rule that I've emphasized over and over in this class, where we've said the protein and the sauce. When the sauce and the protein are prepared separate, then classically that sauce should be presented under or around the protein. When the sauce and the protein are prepared together, then it is acceptable to present the sauce over the protein. Now, depending on exactly what this sauce is, I would support either one, in that we're kind of in a little bit of classical sauce gray area, if you will. If the sauce that you prepared was a reduction of your poaching liquid, for example, reduce the poaching liquid and mount with butter, using that as a base for a beurre blanc, for example. I don't know. The sauce and the protein are prepared together. The sauce is just finished separate. And so to pour it over anymore today, all of these rules that I mentioned, they're broken every single day. And so
I think too, because it's a poached piece of fish, it's not very interesting. So pouring a sauce over it might add something to the look of it. I mean, that would be one reason why I would pour like a beurre blanc over a piece of fish.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The sauce can add some additional color as well. We'll see a plate a little bit later though, where color on top of color on top of color. We can have beautiful ingredients that can still end up monochromatic. I think the shrimp on top of the halibut here adds a pop of color. I don't know. What, anybody have anything else to offer about this plate? It's clean. Very clean plate. Without filling up the entire plate, your eye is drawn. My eye goes right to the shrimp on top. Maybe your eye goes right to the potato on top of the spinach, because that darker color of the spinach, there's a more interesting color combination to look at. The amount of starch on this plate in ratio to the protein and the veg, especially our traditional Southern food, we overstarch a plate. And, that 1/2 or 1 wedge of potato is perfectly fine in the ratio of this plate. And fish is lighter and more delicate, unless we deep fry it, which we often do in the South. All right. Next item up for bid.
Is that shrimp all the way around?
Well, there's 5 shrimp on the plate, and there are 5. So when I gave feedback on this plate, I believe I called these quenelles, where in reality these are 5 potato spinach gnocchis.
Oh, interesting. That's what I was drawn to that, because I was thinking, is that raw shrimp? But no, it's not. Okay.
It's a gnocchi.
Okay. I like the sauce. And the color on top of the fish, I like that. But I don't know if I like those potatoes out. I mean, that's just me. I don't know if that's the color or if it's the picture that made them look. Are they supposed to be that color?
That's the color. So if you're familiar with an gnocchi is a potato-based pasta-ish dumpling. So it's basically potato,
Okay.
little bit of flour, and an egg. It's
Oh,
potato. Well, if you cut into your potato, if you cut into that dough, it's a very, very loose dough. It's fun to make. It's even more fun to eat, and it's very delicious, and it can be heavy, and that's why Chef is a little bit heavy around the middle, because of Skittles and Diet Dr. Pepper and gnocchis. I have probably 9,000 pounds of gnocchi in one of my freezers, because I got turned on to gnocchi when I lived in Brazil, and I love it, love it, love it. I keep it in my freezer. They'll boil really fast, And then if you carefully let them drain so there's no more water on it, let them dry just a little bit out of the water, and then pan fry them in butter to get just a little crust on them. Pinch. That's it. Yes, that's where my diabetes really, really continues, and love and gnocchis. And so I'm going to shut up now and let y'all continue to evaluate. But I'll just say up front, I think gnocchis are gnocchi this week is an example of the direction I hope we all can be going as we progress later in the semester. Just because you have a potato now, granted, the original text of the lab assignment referred to boiled potatoes. Well, gnocchi is a boiled potato. You just make your mashed potatoes with a little flour and some egg, and you have an gnocchi. There's a little bit more to it than that, but not much more. And I just think this is very creative. We have spinach, we have potato. Instead of doing, this is thinking outside the box. This is using the ingredients to a value added. And so I applaud this plate from that kind of creative thinking outside the box standpoint. Now I'll shut up.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like making gnocchi that's impressive to me. I would have never sat down and thought about that with those ingredients. I would have been like, okay, so boiled potatoes, that's what we're gonna do. That's my problem though, is I'm very science, based. So it's like, to me, it's harder to think outside the box like that. So I'm impressed that they did.
So am I. I never would have thought of that either. That's really, really creative.
Okay, so everybody agrees that the menu with success on the menu. Do you have suggestions? Or continue with success? It strokes everybody's ego. We like to hear the compliments. Stroke away.
Given the process of elimination, I would say great job, Kathy.
We've reached a point now in the semester, I think. I try to keep everybody anonymous, but, we're starting to learn each other's tablecloths, or what the style of marble or whatever backdrop we have. But yes, Kathy, this is a good job.
But I would agree with your comment that there's too much food on there. So.
If just hearing that comment to the rest of the peanut gallery, what do you say about that comment?
It's a little, just slightly busy.
Mm-hmm. And there's too much protein.
My hubby would be real happy with that. So he doesn't like veggies. So
yeah.
So Christy, what you're saying, this is a successful plate.
Yes.
This is a successful man's plate, even though it's not fried fish and hush puppies and French fries.
Yes. Yes.
So not to divulge all of the feedback and comments that I leave to individuals, I believe I suggested something along these lines, taking essentially this exact plate, but the rule of odds, which adds to eye appeal, what's very attractive, the rule of odds. 1, not so much. 3s and 5s. So there's 5 shrimp, but 5 shrimp at 16 to 20 count shrimp, that's 5 ounces of shrimp there already, in addition to the fish. What if there were 3 gnocchis
Mhm.
at this size, that at a classical, a traditional gnocchi, these are rather large. That's not a bad thing at all. If there were 3 gnocchi and 3 shrimp, all things being equal, what say ye?
Much better.
My original design, oh, sorry. My original design was to half each shrimp and put half in between each gnocchi. But then I put that on the plate and decided, well, I like the spiralness of the shrimp, so I left it. So that the shrimp kind of look like the gnocchi, sort of. I changed my plate design.
Which is perfectly fine, as we do. Okay, can you see my cursor going round and round? Is it
Mhm.
on?
Yes.
Are you able to see cursor?
Yes.
Okay. So try to picture this in your mind, if you will. Here's, and it's a different plating concept, I guess, based on this same thing. Leaving the fish center of the plate, dead center of the plate, with the other nourishment on top. The sauce presented underneath, maybe a little bit tighter or more like a long strip, a strip of sauce. Maybe so. This part of the plate over here being still white and open, and opposite that, still white and open, and maybe 3 shrimp. The way the plate is setting right now, 3 shrimp above the fish, and maybe 3 gnocchi below the fish, in that same pool, kind of like a runway, in that same pool of sauce, with the height coming from the garnishment on top of the fish. And you have food that's all linear on the plate. You have the 3s. Can you imagine that? Can you picture that in your mind?
Yeah.
That's what I would offer as a suggestion. Remember, all of these suggestions that we're floating around to each other, they're merely that. They're suggestions. But there you go. Does anybody have anything else to say about this plate? Kathy, do you still have this available? What time is dinner?
No, it's
Yeah,
long
we'll
gone.
be right over it.
It's all gone.
It's all gone. I do have some
Shucks.
gnocchi in the freezer, though.
Do what?
I do
Did you
have
put-
some gnocchi in the freezer.
I love the gnocchi. Is everybody familiar with gnocchi?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. That's why I was, I'm not at all, but
We're going to do it. We're going to do it before the semester's over. We have later on, we have handmade pasta, and maybe I'll add some gnocchi to the same week that we make handmade pasta. Or I'll just demo it. Oh, that would be terrible. I'll just demo some gnocchi, and then I'll have to eat that for dinner, I guess. I'll take that under advisement. Successes and suggestions.
The carrots are lost.
yeah, the carrots are just like hanging out there like, okay. Maybe they should have
The
been
group.
placed up with the fish.
For the good of the group, and we all have done this. We all have done this at least more than once in the semester, and I guarantee we will do this. Each one of us will do this at least one more time each throughout the semester. You have a plating idea. You're working on it. We try to put everything together, and then when it actually comes time to plate, Kathy just said for her plate we just saw, there was the plating idea, but when it's actually time to plate, what we actually see draw on paper, what we see in our mind, what we're actually able to physically execute may be different. And there was the carrot puree in process that didn't exactly cooperate very well. And so as I understand, these carrots are cut very well, but somewhat, I think in a comment I mentioned, looks a little bit like an afterthought. And in reality, it kind of was, because the original idea was to do something completely different. Okay. I don't know that I mentioned this last week. So especially things that are really fibrous, like carrots, parsnips, peas, green bean puree, a lot of vegetable purees. Vegetables are fibrous. And so in order to smooth out that fibrousness, just a little bit of fat goes a long, long way. A couple of pats of butter while you're in the food processor or blender is really perfect. And the fat, it doesn't break the fibers down any finer, but it smooths out that puree and makes it a little easier to work with, like a mashed potato. I should have covered that last week whenever I did some carrot and some peas. Yes, sir. Andy, drive away.
So I'll just volunteer that this is my plate. And so I tried to make the carrot puree from the carrots that were in the mirepoix. And I actually did put some cream in because I remembered I think you said that last week. And I used a food processor, but it was still, do the carrots just need to be boiled until they're just almost mushy?
Just about.
So that I'm thinking that maybe that's the problem, that they needed to be cooked even longer than they were.
At al dente, or maybe a step past al dente, it's virtually impossible to break down all the fibers. So you end up with something that's grainy, even with a little bit of fat. Now, you don't want to boil them. You don't want to boil it all the way to mush. Then you'll have a watery consistency and no body, especially to something like peas or carrots, green beans. You can overcook those even if you're going to make a puree. Kathy, you have something to say. You just turn your microphone on. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and what I found is if you don't cook it almost to mush, it clogs the end of the squirt bottle and you just get a splat.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's plating designs today that you want to splat. It's crazy, the art. So in spite of that, and with that, in spite of that, with these carrots, what success is there? What do y'all like about Andy's plate, and what would you suggest?
I like the placement of the food in the one corner, and the sauce, and how he I guess sprinkled the herbs that look like the same as what was used in the sauce. I like that whole concept.
And also the shrimp. But I like the shrimp. The shrimp looks very scrumptious. Looks very how can you say flavorful? You know, so just by the color it is, and also just how I know, so man, it just looks delicious. Plus, I love shrimp. Uh,
Scrumptious, that's a good word. The orange ginger, if that's how y'all, everybody poached your shrimp this week, the orange ginger, I think it's a winner. I think it's really sweet, and so isn't good all the time, but really good. It is hard to see in this picture, and I wrote Andy some feedback that's almost a half a chapter of a book, but I wanted to share this with everybody else. There is an in the moment. I don't think you're going to learn this in stocks class, but it's good to know and just kind of have in the back of your mind in your repertoire of kitchen hacks and tricks and tips and techniques. A beurre blanc is, in my opinion, one of the most difficult sauces that we have. It is so temperature sensitive. Even now, your house might be a little bit colder, so you might raise the temperature of the pan a little bit more, and it is so easy to break that sauce. Once the fat solids of the butter and the water and oil of the butter, once they separate, once that emulsion separates, it's hard to see at first, and then it's a chain reaction. And the butter, the milk fat solids all kind of find each other. And so a great graphical picture of that is when you go to the Olive Garden and you have this big, massive plate of fettuccine Alfredo, and you can only eat half of it because you ate 2 bowls of salad and 82 baskets of breadsticks. I know how it is at the Olive Garden. I kind of like the Olive Garden.
That's exactly what I do.
There, see, yes, that's you get that to-go plate, the to-go box, and at midnight or your lunch at the office tomorrow, you warm up in the microwave the rest of that fettuccine Alfredo, and when you pull it out of the microwave, you have pasta that's hot, and you have globs of goop. And all of that is swimming in buttery oil. It tastes fine. The mouthfeel is a little bit off, but it all tastes fine. The butter, fat solids, and the cheese of the Alfredo sauce latched on to each other. And the water and oils from the butter separated. Your sauce is broken. When you're preparing a beurre blanc, and it would not be a true beurre blanc anymore, but it is in the moment, on the line, a quick restaurant hack, a little bit of cream. If you're doing a single serving of beurre blanc, you're swirling the butter, and you can start to see that little oily right along the outside of the rim. If your beurre blanc is, a half to a whole stick of butter, 4 to 8 tablespoons of butter is about all you're using. A couple of tablespoons of cream, that's all you need. I'm not talking about changing the sauce to become a cream sauce, but the fat structure of the cream is slightly different than the fat structure of the butter, even though it's the same fat. And so the fat in the cream doesn't separate from everything else as fast as the butter does. And so there is essentially a re-emulsion of the oils in the water with the butter fat, the milk fat solids in the butter because of the cream. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense. You can save a sauce. You can save that beurre blanc, even all the way at the very end. You didn't turn the burner off. You kept the burner on low, and the burner really needs to be off when you're swirling the butter in. And you get all of your butter in, and then you see that, well, it's broken. It's gone. And you've got maybe at the beginning, you see the oil, you see the little, almost like the little curds. You see little mini cottage cheese. That's those milk fat solids. Splash in a little bit of cream, stir, with a whisk, with a fork, or just with your arm swirling the pan around, and you can save the sauce. Did I already answer? Andy, you raised your hand, and then
Well, so the sauce actually came out initially perfect. I mean, it was just beautiful and perfect consistency. And so to keep it warm, I put it over like a hot water bath. And while I was doing the other stuff, I mean, it completely just broke down. And I did put a little bit of cream in and stirred it vigorously, and just never could completely rescue it. I mean, it just, so maybe it had gone too far, and it was, DOA, or I don't know.
it may have. And so butter sauce 101, a beurre blanc, a beurre rouge, you can't hot hold it. You can't put a true beurre blanc. You can't put it in a bain marie. You can't put it in a water bath. It's going to be too hot. And so even in the busy chaos, one of the reasons why there is the brigade system in a kitchen, and you have one whole station that is your saucier, and that's going to be preparing that beurre blanc to order. You may have a wine and stock reduction. You may have a wine and stock reduction that already, herbs and spices and everything that creates the flavor. The sauce is completely done, and that is being hot held, mounting the butter. Then
It makes sense.
a hot pan with a ladle of that, stock and alcohol that's already been reduced. You let it bubble really to order, to make an individual order. Your beurre blanc should come out in 2 minutes. Your stock, your alcohol has already been reduced. It goes in a hot pan. The temperature, you turn the burner off completely, and you've got cold butter, not room temperature. That should be a key. Cold butter in reserve, in maybe 1 tablespoon, 1 ounce, little cubes, and you start dropping those in 1 or 2 at a time. And it's usually done to a certain consistency. Served on the plate, boom, the plate goes. That beurre blanc is the last thing that's going to hit the plate, or it's the first thing to hit the plate, and you take that beurre blanc to the pass where the sous chef or the exec is going to build the plate with all the components making it to the pass all at the same time. Then that's going to be the sauce going underneath or around. It is very, very, very temperature specific, temperature picky. Beurre blancs, beurre rouge, beurre noir, they don't hold and are best prepared right in the moment.
I had the same problem, Terry, so I feel your pain.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Chef. Now I see the strategy is to
Me
create the
too.
reduction and keep that hot.
Yeah, I didn't realize
Mhm.
that, but you're right. It does. It was, yeah, I threw one away to start it over.
Well, and if I'd had the stuff, I would have thought about making another one, but then everything else would have been cold by the time I reduced the shallots and white wine. So
Oh, you
So-
guys just wait. You just wait to see my plate this week. It was disastrous. Is oh my gosh.
No, it wasn't disastrous, Christy. It was. There may be a learning. There may be a yes,
teachable moment.
teachable
Yeah.
moment. That's what I was looking for.
I
Okay.
considered throwing all of my pots and pans away in the trash. I was so mad when I finally got finished, but I settled down and plated my food and it was sort of fun. But
Did you read my comments this afternoon, Christy?
yes, I did. And I think you're right. I hate salmon. So I think that maybe in just part of it. I don't know. I don't know what all I've done. But you just wait, Andy. I'll be explaining. If he shows my plate, you'll see.
Oh, look. Wait,
Oh, there it is.
I didn't mean
Okay.
to call you out so quick, Christy.
I know. Here we go. Okay, I'm just going to start with my own plate. The salmon, when I poached it, was so gross. When I pulled it out of the oven, the fat had separated out of the salmon. I don't even know if the shrimp is cooked properly. I'm not a huge seafood fan, so I think that's part of the problem. Then I don't know if you can see it really well, but there's some spinach that I sauteed in bacon, and it was like this nasty, greasy mess. And then the little white globs of sauce that I made had horseradish in it, and I guess I didn't really measure that, and it was so, I don't know a better word for it, horsey, radishy tasting, that it was, oh my gosh, it was just disastrous. The only thing that is good on my plate is that butternut squash puree that I made, and it was delicious because it had maple syrup in it. But everything else was a disaster. So I will shut up now.
Right. From looking at it, I don't think it looks that bad though. I mean, we can't tell, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm on my phone.
Right, and it doesn't look like it's not delicious.
Yeah,
It's a
it's very
clean plate.
artistic. Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
a really good job of, I had two pretty decent sized pieces of salmon, and that was the best one. I cut them until I finally got a piece that I was like, this looks the least disgusting. And I'm going to plate that one. My husband ate all of it, by the way. He didn't even care. He was like, whatever that white stuff is, that it just all goes to the same place. He literally ate all of it. I was like, gosh, I'm such a perfectionist. So this plate it's really bothered me all day long today.
Should not
I don't think
bother.
it's that bad. Yeah.
I think it looks
We
good.
would never know that it tasted terrible. I like the design.
Taste. Go back to food one. Remember the cheese tasting week, the cheese tasting day, and we talked a little bit about the science of taste. Taste is as individual as your fingerprints, and so what doesn't taste real good to one tastes amazing to somebody else. Y'all don't have the benefit of seeing the comments that you give me before I even grade your stuff. Some of you, are a little self-deprecating and leave a little comment whenever you submit your assignment, and I appreciate those. And when you say that something doesn't taste very good, or I don't like this, I'm right with you. So, Christy, if you don't mind me just maybe sharing a little bit of your personal comment, she doesn't care for the salmon too much. Well, neither do I. I don't care for fishy fish. I'll eat it. It doesn't make me. I'll put some pretty disgusting things in my mouth, and so I'll eat just about anything. But my preference is not grilled tuna. My preference is not salmon, fishy fish, um, mahi, mackerel. These are fish that are super high in omega fatty acids, and fat fish, healthy fish. It's the fish fat that we're tasting. It's very, very strong. To some people, that's really, really strong. White fish, your halibut, sea bass, grouper, snapper, tilapia, even catfish. Those are mildly flavored fish, and I very much prefer those. But taste is something that, I'd like us to get a little better at describing taste in the taste essays than describing your process, what I cooked and how I cooked and whatnot. About this plate, think about this in your mind. I offered Christy already this suggestion, so you can maybe think this same way. The color of the salmon and the color of the butternut squash kind of bleed into each other, making an almost monochromatic look. Switch the sauce and the butternut squash puree. Have 3 large dots of the butternut squash puree and put the sauce underneath the spinach and the salmon and the shrimp. Now, can you see that? What do you say about that?
I think that would have been a lot prettier. I think I didn't even like, it didn't even consider to, I think I got so like in my own head about how bad my salmon looked, but I think at that point I just completely, like nothing was gonna fix it. You know what I mean? Like it just totally bothered me, I think.
Shouldn't. It's a nice plate. It's clean. I like the more we're utilizing negative space from a plate presentation standpoint, is really a nice plate.
So I would omit I think it looks really cool. And I think it would look really cool if you omitted the or the little pool that's on the lower left. So you just had one on each corner.
Boom, boom.
Yeah,
Get rid of
I
this.
think that would look, yeah. But I think it looks sharp. I mean, the plate looks very clean, and I agree with the color, lack of color contrast, and changing the sauce and the butternut squash puree, but I think the plate looks good.
I agree.
And so y'all know sometimes we're going to see a different plate using different ingredients than maybe what everybody else picked up in their basket. If you're not able to make it to the culinary school, your lab fees provide you with your product. But if you have to go, I'll just use the term, if you have to go rogue and go to Kroger and you go to Harps, you go to Walmart and you pick up your own product to use. Every once in a while that has to happen because of, we have to live life while we're also students. When that happens, I think I've expressed pretty explicitly throughout the semester, the primary objective of this course is the cooking methods. Even though we spend a lot of time in Zoom on plate presentation, y'all may benefit from how we're doing it right now. Next semester, there's actually going to be a plate presentation textbook. And so that's going to be added to Food 2. There's going to be a whole separate knife skills textbook for Food 1 to go along with your on cooking. And so we're actually going to spend even more time on plate presentation. But as long as you poached this week, you know, I don't care if you poached salmon or you poached the halibut that you picked up at the school. I just when those weeks happen, I hate it for you that you've got to spend money out of your pocket after you've already, you know, spent on a lab fee. But there you go. That's all I have to say about that. I think that was it. Do y'all want to go back and see anything else? Say anything about anything? No? Good. This week is basically a 2-part plate. This week is going to be, can be a little challenging with your plate presentation because we're steaming. And so I'm having you steam in papillote. Okay. And so I'm going to show you, I'm going to move cameras here in just a little while, and I'm going to show you how to do this instead of us just looking at a picture. But here we go. We're looking at a picture. And so you should, I imagine, so I know San's already picked up product. San, did you pick up a sheet of parchment?
No, it wasn't on the list.
Oh,
It wasn't on the list. Hold on, I got the list. Let me go back and check. I still have the paper. Hold on 1 second.
I guess you could kind of do this with, I wouldn't do this. You could sort of do this with aluminum foil. But everybody else, be sure you pick up a sheet of parchment, baker's parchment.
Oh, it's not on the list,
I'll add it to the list in the morning.
but I have some at home anyway, so I'm good.
Okay, 1 sheet. You're going to make a pocket. You're going to make a packet, and your fish, snapper, I believe, snapper
Yes,
that was filleted from meat and seafood last week. That's the snapper that we're playing with this week. And you have several different vegetables. There might have been, was there a lemon?
yes,
Fennel. Use what
yes.
you like. If you don't like fennel, for example, fine. If you've never had fennel, use it. What a great opportunity to use it. You can use the fronds on the top. You can use the stem that looks almost like celery. You can use the bulb. It's denser. It's firmer to cut than onion, but it's layered like onion.
Mhm.
A little bit, like kind of like rosemary, a little bit can go a long way with fennel. It's a little bit of a licoricey flavor. And so it adds a nice flavor to fish. So that's why I included it in your basket. Use it, don't use it. I think there's some zucchini and squash, maybe some bell pepper. I don't remember what all's there, but you got a lot of stuff that you can do different things with. I would like you to build a packet that has your fish and some veg, so that you're steaming some vegetable and the fish all together. Now, if you don't pay attention to anything else, there has to be in your packet, there has to be a little bit of moisture. There's not enough moisture just from the fish to properly steam everything. Zucchini, squash, bell pepper, onion, fennel. Those will steam pretty easy. Carrot, parsnip. If you were to include potato in this, if you have like some red bliss potatoes, that would work really nice. I don't think we had potatoes on the cart, but I'm just throwing out ideas. Those denser, firmer things that you might cut in, obliques of carrot, for example. Those are going to take a little bit more moisture. Okay. Your moisture can come from, and I would suggest this, think about flavor at the end. Butter. Now, most of you are okay with this. You probably already have it in your liquor cabinet at home. We still, new state laws have not completely gone into effect yet, and the school can't send students home with alcohol, but a little bit of white wine, to one fish, one packet, that's one serving, 4 to 6 ounces of fish and a total of about 6 to 10 ounces of vegetables. You need probably 2 tablespoons of butter and probably the same amount of white wine. I wouldn't go any more than about an eighth of a cup, which would be 4 tablespoons, or a quarter cup would be 4 tablespoons. Wouldn't go any more than a quarter cup of wine. And what kind of wine? Whatever you drink, whatever you would serve with this. If that's a Chablis, if that's a Pinot Grigio, if that's a Chardonnay, that's according to your liking and your taste. And I would avoid just 3 or 4 tablespoons of water. And that's just because you'll get the steam from it, but you won't get any flavor. And when you open all of this up, you may have a very nice smell, but when you go to eat it, if you steamed with just water, it's going to be very flat. And so a little butter, a little white wine. You don't need to fill the whole thing up. Your parchment can handle it if you have those smaller ratios like this. If you've already printed out recipes from Blackboard, stand by. Okay, I'm gonna upload this evening another recipe for the rice pilaf. I'm gonna leave the one that's already there. Okay, because that recipe, even though the ratios are for, I think, 3 or 4 servings, the method with the recipe that's in Blackboard right now, that recipe came from On Cooking. It comes from the textbook, but it is institutional food service rice pilaf. It's a baked rice pilaf. And I want us to do what we're seeing right here in this picture. Saucepan, stovetop rice pilaf. The ingredients, the ratios are the same, but it's like boiling rice on your stovetop. Just you're going to saute that rice in a little bit of oil, butter, fat of some kind, just enough fat to coat all of the grains of rice. And, contrary to rice-a-roni or other rice pilaf things that you might see, you want to saute to heat up the grains, but a rice pilaf is covering each grain with fat. We shouldn't saute the rice to brown it. We should not develop any color. If you want color and you want that nutty flavor, okay, if you want to just make a note of this for the future, I didn't give you this ingredient, but you can use any kind of small pasta. You can use orzo pasta. You can use, like any more today, you can buy the little bitty angel hair, the little vermicelli pasta that's broken down, like the packaged dry soup. You can buy that vermicelli that's already broken down really small. At home, I like orzo pasta. Toss that pasta in the oven just to brown it a little bit, give it a color. And then after you've sauteed your rice, throw a little bit of that pasta in with the rice. There is going to be your Maillard flavor development, the kind of nuttiness that you expect maybe from a rice pilaf. But the method, the technique around pilaf is simply, shallot or onion, a little garlic, just sweated, add your rice, stir it around, toss it so that every grain is covered with fat, and hot stock. And depending on the type of rice that you use, you're picking up, you should be picking up basmati rice. If you're picking up your ingredients from the culinary school, that's just because, basmati rice is an Indian rice. It's an aromatic rice. There's a little more, it's subtle, but there's a little more oomph to it than just plain long grain rice. And it's one of my favorite rice grains. And so, because it's my favorite, when mama's on a diet, the whole family's on a diet, whoever's cooking the food, whoever's picking the food, I pick the food. And so y'all are getting the stuff that I like. And if you don't like it, well, nanny, nanny, boo, boo. Sorry about that. No, very, very simple. I'm going to put up another recipe, and I'm going to call it, I'll put in the title of it in Blackboard. I'll put rice pilaf, use this one, use this recipe, or something like that. I'll identify it as the stovetop rice pilaf. Then you could do either one. But the methodology is going to be a little bit different. I would prefer that you do stovetop, because in the restaurant, and certainly when you go to Food 3 and Food 4, when you make a rice pilaf, you're going to do stovetop. And so you need to have that experience at least once. You'll learn doing it in the oven if you go, you work for a hospital, you work for a school, and you're doing larger volume institutional food. Okay, good. All right, let me stop this little share and let me change cameras. My lights are starting to go out. I need to go get some batteries. I'll blow this up just a little bit. There, how's that? So I've got some parchment, got a pair of scissors. Use any scissors, you can use shears, whatever. Very simple. I'm going to take this sheet of parchment. I'm going to fold it in half. We're basically going to do one of those, you know how you cut out a heart, big heart like for Valentine's. So you can draw it if you want to. I'm not going to draw it, but just for argument's sake, I'm going to start down. This is going to be my bottom. And I'm just going to move out at an angle. And it doesn't have to be all perfect. And so Christy, maybe, and others of you that are in the perfectionist world, you might want to get rulers and draw a picture, draw your lines and follow the lines. And there you go. I hope you take my sarcasm for how it's meant to be, but can you tell I have basically a heart? Well, I'm going to put, I'll just use this paper. I'm going to build inside of the center of 1/2, not in the center of my whole cutout heart. I'm going to build in 1/2. Okay. I want to be careful to not overcrowd the outside edge. So in the center, maybe a little off center of that 1/2 towards my fold. When I've put all of my, maybe a little layer of vegetables, maybe my fish, maybe another layer of those same vegetables, and I just toss in some butter. I don't put the wine in yet. Okay. I don't want to pour any liquid on here yet. Otherwise, I have a mess everywhere. That ought to kind of make sense. I hope it does. I'm going to fold over the other 1/2. And so I have this bulge, and it's in a way almost like making a parchment paper ravioli. But it's very important what I do now. I don't want to just crinkle all the edges like this is aluminum foil. I need to create a tight seal all the way around. And so this is simply done starting at the top. Of course, my fold's not going to cooperate very well, or my little pile. I got a few other sheets. Let me get rid of that. So I start at the cut corner that was the top. The point down below is where I'm going to end all of my folds. Okay. And I'm going to fold this in like a little triangle. And I'm sorry about this camera. It's kind of zooms in and zooms out every time I move. See that?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm just going to gradually work my way around every one of these corners, the new corners that's made. I'm going to fold that in. New corner. Fold, 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 all the way around.
So Chef, we're not putting all of that fillet in there because that fillet is huge.
No, you cut it. How are you going to present that?
Okay.
Do you have to cut, or do you have to present the entire fillet?
No.
Present the fillet in multiple pieces?
Okay.
Crimping these edges like this is very important. Okay. And when I get to this end, I have an opening. Now I'm going to pour in my wine. Just
Okay.
you're going to add weight. This really should be done on a sheet pan. And you should have enough fish, enough product that you can do at least 2 servings. So you can make 2 different pockets. Now you've got date night for the 2 of you. You don't want to move this around. you can tear the paper. I want to do it as if my cutting board here were a sheet pan, one on one side, one on the other, and then this is ready to go in the oven. After I've poured in my wine, or stock, if you don't want to use alcohol, use a little bit of stock. And so let's see, San in meat and seafood, Terrence in meat and seafood. You know, some of you have already cut down your round fish. If you save that skeleton, you can make a simple stovetop fish stock.
Right.
Add a little fish stock to this.
Mhm.
Chicken stock, flavorful, or add some wine. When you come to that end, okay, you'll close that off. I give it one fold, and then I give it one more fold for insurance. If it's going to open up, it's going to open up here. The way that we've crimped and made these folds all the way around, if it's going to open, it'll open here. We don't want this to open at all. The purpose is to cook everything inside with steam. This is, let me come back.
Chef, I know on the video they showed at the end that where they twisted it and then folded up.
You mean at the very end?
Uh-huh.
A little twist and then fold?
Uh-huh.
That's fine.
Okay.
The thing is, a couple of folds or twists, not just one.
Okay.
Because with just one, I promise you, it'll open up. You need that extra fold or extra twist for insurance to keep it sealed. Then at this point, you kind of, this is an area where we do kind of need to follow the recipe just a little bit. We need to follow the recipe or pay attention to the video if it suggests a particular time. You're going to be in the ballpark of, depending on the vegetable, the amount of vegetable and the size of vegetable. Most of us haven't done this before. And so I'm going to tell you already up front, a first time doing this, be prepared for maybe some vegetable that's cut a little bit big, might come out a little bit on the overly al dente, a little on the raw side. And that's better than turning things into mush. If you cut things really paper thin, you may end up with mush. And so a rondelle of zucchini should be cut in the 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick. 1/4 inch is probably ideal. 1/2 inch thick, too big, too much. Rondelles of carrot, kind of the same. Err on a little bit smaller side because the carrots take longer to cook, and you don't want to cook to the carrots. If you do, even though inside that packet the fish is just resting in all of this steam, the moment you open it up and you release the steam, if you've overcooked the fish, it's going to be dry. It'll dry out. And we don't want that. And so you're cooking to the fish. This method at a 350 degree oven, 10 to 12 minutes is probably going to be spot on. If your snapper fillets are really, really thin, like the tilapia fillets you pick up at the grocery store, you're definitely going to be on the side of 10 minutes. If they're really thick, like some of your halibut, you're probably going to be closer on the 15 minutes. while this is in the oven, you want your peel off working so that your packet comes out of the oven, your peel off goes on the plate, and you won't be able to take a picture of this. Maybe you'll describe it in your little taste essay. But when you take a knife and you cut open that packet, there should be a beautiful waft of the smell of all of those ingredients. And it should be, you should almost get a steam bath, but that's only going to happen when you do that right out of the oven. Now, if you go to a French bistro and you have fish prepared in papillote, then it's going to go to the table. Just plain. Here's the plate. There's your packet, and they're going to cut it open table side so you get all the steam that comes out, and that's it. That's all that's going to be on the plate. And so while there still is the lab assignment that we have every week for plate presentation, I want you to cut your packet open right out of the oven. Get the steam bath, the little sauna effect on your face, and remove those ingredients from the packet to form your plate. And so you won't really have a sauce unless you very quickly use some of the drippings, some of what's left in the packet in a saute pan really quick and make a butter sauce or a quick cream sauce. One last little note and a note of caution. Don't turn this into an Alfredo type sauce. For the most part, shrimp, lobster, and something like Alfredo, that kind of works. Fish and cheese don't belong on the same plate. And so don't do that. Alfredo is a cheese sauce. And so we can debate lobster mac and cheese and stuff like that some other time, but really in high-end food, seafood, particularly fillets of any kind of fish, and cheese don't go on the same plate. They don't belong together. Okay, what do you think? Are you nervous about anything? Don't be.
I'm scared.
Don't be. How
Not
many
too
times?
scared.
Are you scared? You scared too?
Yep.
Andy, look. Terrence, what was that? You're scared or not scared?
I'm not scared. I'm scared.
Scared.
As we say down south. I'm
Scared.
scared.
Or I'm scared. You know what? We've covered this before in other settings. Think back to your very first knife skills test in Food 1. I know I gave this little speech to you because I give the same little speech every semester to the first knife skills test in Food 1. There's always a little bit of nervousness or apprehension when we're asked to do something new that we've never done before. And I hope so far in culinary school, yes, we've jacked some things up. This is the place to do that. This is the learning moment. If anything, if you're nervous about the doneness of the fish, I'm asking you to make some judgment calls, based on how thin or thick are your fillets, and you're making a judgment call about a process and a procedure and a technique you've never done before. So if you end up undercooking just a little bit, don't eat it. Take pictures anyway. Still go with the plate presentation and put that in the comments. Little nervous about eating this. It seemed to be a little bit underdone. But go with that one cook, and then make a note that, all right, thin fillet of snapper, 8 minutes, not enough time. If you've got a thin fillet, your vegetables need to be no thicker than your fish fillet. Your fish is going to cook faster than your vegetables. So if you've got a thinner piece of snapper and you cut big old chunks of squash, you're going to have partially cooked squash.
Yeah, the fillet is not that thick.
So
At least not the one I have.
you are I saw Tuesday night's snapper fillets from last week, and if those are the fillet, we have 2 in-person classes, Tuesday morning and Tuesday night. I didn't see Tuesday mornings, but I saw Tuesday nights last week. If that's what you picked up, you've got some awful thin snapper, and that's okay. It's going to cook a little quicker. It's going to take 3 or 4 minutes in the oven for that packet to reach temperature anyway. The real cooking is going to be the next 4 to 6 minutes after that. It's going to take about 5 minutes for the liquids inside to even start to steam. But once the steam forms, those thin fillets aren't going to take very long. And so I think the real test is going to be how thick are you cutting your vegetables. Now, for final presentation, I would like you to cook some vegetables in that packet with the fish. That's going to help flavor the fish, first of all. But I think you also need the experience of, what happens to this squash in the steam? What happens to fennel in the steam? That's going to be a really nice experience. But if you want to eat something else, feel free to plate sauteed, roasted vegetables. Do whatever else that you want. If you're going to roast vegetables, for example, know that that's going to take longer in the oven than your fish. Roasted vegetables are going to take 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So you can't put both of those in the oven at the same time. You know what I mean? We talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago. You have to kind of roasted vegetables going to take about 25 minutes. Rice pilaf is going to take about 15 minutes start to finish. My fish is going to take about 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes. Okay. I need to mise everything before you cook anything, right? Take care of all your mise, your slicing and dicing, your mincing, all of that. Build your packet. You can build those. You can have the fish in it. You can have your vegetables already. It's all built. It's all sealed. It's done. Sitting on the sheet pans, waiting to go in your oven. Preheat the oven. Get your roasted vegetables in. And I'm not telling you to roast vegetables. I'm just using this as an example. Get your roasted vegetables in and start gathering. Maybe heat up your chicken stock for your pilaf. Then start your little saute. Sweat your aromatics, sweat your shallots or onion, your garlic. Toss in your rice, swirl that around, get all the fat on everything. In goes your stock. Give it a nice little stir, cover, and then in goes your fish. And you can probably just kind of sit and wait and watch for about the next 10 minutes. And then you've got to resist the urge to open up your packet and check the fish to see if it's done. Kind of like using a crock pot. If you pull the lid off of your crock pot midway through cooking just to see how it's going, you've lost about 45% of all the cooking that's going on. You've got to keep all of that sealed. And so and don't stick with just the 10-minute thing, because really you want to be, if these are as thin as grocery store tilapia, if these are as thin as I saw Tuesday night's snapper, then 10 minutes, 12 minutes tops. If these are as thick as some of your halibut, you're going to be 15. One or two of you had some really thick pieces. Andy, I think your was one. You had a really, really thick piece. That's probably going to be in the 18-minute range if you have a piece of fish that's that thick. If you don't like the snapper and you want to try a salmon fillet or something like that, then that's going to be in the 15, 18 minute, maybe even 20, because sometimes we get some really thick sections of fillet.
Yeah, that snapper is nowhere near as thick as that halibut I had last week. It's nowhere near.
Just kind of knowing what some of you are probably going to do with the vegetables, I would just ballpark, and I would suggest you go about 12 minutes. You won't overcook the fish. You certainly won't undercook it, and you won't undercook most of your vegetables if you go with about 12 minutes. What else, everybody? Anything else? All right. Have a blessed evening. And
Thanks, Chef.
enjoy
Chef.
some more fish.
All right.
All right, everybody, be safe.
Nighty night.
All right.
Bye-bye.